Daniel Goleman has proven that 2/3 of the success in business is based upon our emotional intelligence as opposed to our IQ or our level of experience. As we look for the next crop of future CEOs, maybe it's time for America's corporations to start interviewing grads from the psychology master's programs rather than the M.B.A. programs. This will sound funny coming out of my mouth, but I like to play characters that have an intelligence. It doesn't matter if it's a physical intelligence or emotional intelligence. Everyone on the left has a favorite story that allows them to kind of excuse Reagan, explain away Reagan, say he was dumb, but unless we reckon with that kind of emotional intelligence and his ability to kind of speak to the aspirations of the American people, the less liberals are going to be able to understand the soul of his appeal. I take parenting incredibly seriously. I want to be there for my kids and help them navigate the world, and develop skills, emotional intelligence, to enjoy life. And I'm lucky to be able to do that and have 2 healthy, normal boys. Whatever you think about his intelligence, what's unquestionable is that Reagan had extraordinary emotional intelligence. He could sense the temperature of a room, and tell them a story and make them feel good. And that's more fun, right? It's more fun to feel good than feel bad. That's part of our human state. You need emotional intelligence, to be happy to take risks, to be competitive and to look forward not backwards. I need to add that my work on multiple intelligences received a huge boost in 1995 when Daniel Goleman published his book on emotional intelligence. I am often confused with Dan. Initially, though Dan and I are longtime friends, this confusion irritated me. The dominant question for us with regard to literature has become, what does this have to do with me, with life as I know it? That's the question answered by all these books about how Proust was actually a neuroscientist or how Proust can teach you emotional intelligence. The great help of being in the army is to understand why are the armies clever in what they describe as emotional intelligence, making soldiers come to terms with the death of comrades by certain rituals. In most job interviews, people say they are looking for people skills and emotional intelligence. That's reasonable, but the question is, how do you define what that looks like? I think for leadership positions, emotional intelligence is more important than cognitive intelligence. People with emotional intelligence usually have a lot of cognitive intelligence, but that's not always true the other way around. Emotional intelligence is a very important skill set, not just to be happier but also to succeed professionally. The field of AI has traditionally been focused on computational intelligence, not on social or emotional intelligence. Yet being deficient in emotional intelligence, EQ, can be a great disadvantage in society. Having emotional intelligence allows you to manage your emotions, show empathy, and prevent you from getting distracted. It also helps you solve problems and be a more likable person. I experience psychic phenomena, so people think I must be crazy. But you have to be accessible and intelligent to be a good actor. I might not have gotten the best grades in school, but I have a very high level of emotional intelligence. You have to be open to receive. I think the very idea of character, of developing not just grit, but empathy and curiosity, emotional intelligence, the things that I want my own daughters to develop, the idea that we're going to get there through rewards and punishments seems completely at odds with the idea of character itself. Leadership is all about emotional intelligence. Management is taught, while leadership is experienced. People who fail to use their emotional intelligence skills are more likely to turn to other, less effective means of managing their mood. They are twice as likely to experience anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and even thoughts of suicide. Self-awareness is a trait, or maybe practice is the more accurate way to put it, that everyone can always improve at. It is part emotional intelligence, part perceptiveness, part critical thinking. It means knowing your weaknesses, of course, but it also means knowing your strengths and what motivates you. My hope was that organizations would start including this range of skills in their training programs, in other words, offer an adult education in social and emotional intelligence. I do believe I have certain strengths as a female CEO, such as having another level of awareness through emotional intelligence. My mom is a bit unconventional, she's outdoorsy and has more of an emotional intelligence, whereas my dad is pragmatic, he's a businessman. Let's teach boys at school the personally and economically valuable skills of self-expression and emotional intelligence, of mediation and problem-solving. Beauty is an asset, just like physical prowess, charisma, brains, or emotional intelligence. The key with any gift is in the way that you use it. It doesn't define you as a person. Rather, it's an asset to be used judiciously and with an understanding of how it is just a small part of who you are. But once you are in that field, emotional intelligence emerges as a much stronger predictor of who will be most successful, because it is how we handle ourselves in our relationships that determines how well we do once we are in a given job. Emotional intelligence begins to develop in the earliest years. All the small exchanges children have with their parents, teachers, and with each other carry emotional messages. When I went on to write my next book, Working with Emotional Intelligence, I wanted to make a business case that the best performers were those people strong in these skills. By 2029, computers will have emotional intelligence and be convincing as people. Teaching emotional intelligence skills to people with life-threatening illnesses has been shown to reduce the rate of recurrence, shrink recovery times, and lower death rates. My own work falls into a subset of AI that is about building artificial emotional intelligence, or emotion AI for short. What matters is hard work and emotional intelligence. Instead of assuming that emotional intelligence is always useful, we need to think more carefully about where and when it matters. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and understand emotions in yourself and others, and your ability to use this awareness to manage your behavior and relationships. Some of the greatest moments in human history were fueled by emotional intelligence. Empathy and social skills are social intelligence, the interpersonal part of emotional intelligence. That's why they look alike. Reagan's emotional intelligence, his ability to suss out people's longings and to channel them for political purposes, was better than just about any human being that ever lived. It took me until my 40s to realize the 5 essential areas that are important to at least have a real dating chance. Obviously, beyond the physical compatibility, which is where we all start in junior high school, I think that intellectual compatibility and spiritual compatibility, emotional intelligence, and financial compatibility are important. Teach your kids emotional intelligence. Help them become more evolved than you are. Explain that, for instance, not everyone will like them.